Am I wrong for telling my wife my job has to come before hers? Background. I, 35-year-old male, my wife, 34-year-old, and our 2 kids, 3 and 5 years old, live in a VHCOL city. I made about 5x as much as my wife, so we do pretty well. If my income were the same as my wife's, we would not be able to afford to live in our city. My job is pretty low stress, about 35-ish hours a week, with the only requirement that I be on call for 1 week out each month. Normally, nothing ever happens, so I do my usual routine with the understanding with my wife that if I am needed, I will drop whatever we are doing and work until the work issue is resolved. This only ever happens once every quarter and only lasts a few hours. My wife, on the other hand, has a much more stressful job. Her boss is incredibly demanding and often demands random and inane things just as a power play with her subordinates. She usually works about 45 to 50 hours a week. As a result, I take care of most home stuff, drop off or pick up kids from daycare, cook meals, and generally keep the house clean. The AITA incident. It was an on-call week after work hours when my wife got a text from her boss about fulfilling an emergency request for a client. My wife complained to me that this request really could wait until tomorrow, but she would rather get it done so she doesn't have to listen to her boss bitch at her in the morning if it's not done. I had no problem with it, but I reminded her that I am on call, so I might need to switch with her if something came up. She made a grunt of acknowledgement, but nothing beyond that. About 2 hours later, I get an all-hands call to immediately come into the office. Normally, I can resolve issues remotely, but we had an issue that prevented us from remoting in. I rush upstairs and told my wife I had to leave only for her to turn around and say, "Sorry, but my issue came up first. You are going to have to tell your work you can't." I was taken aback and told her that no, this issue isn't something I can skip for anything short of I am physically in the hospital and can't come in. She got increasingly angry and started ranting at me, but I told her that I didn't have time for this and that I am leaving. When I get back, we can discuss this. She started crying, but I had no more time, so I left for the office. On the way, she called me to continue the argument, and in the heat of the moment, I said, "Look, I respect that you put a lot of time and energy into your work, but we cannot afford our house or lifestyle without my job, so when push comes to shove, my job has to come first, otherwise, we are going to be on the streets." She hung up on me after that. When I got home about 3 hours later, around 11 p.m., the kids were crashed out on the living room couch with several bowls of cereal spilled around them. I went upstairs, and my wife was locked in the bedroom and refused to talk. In the morning, I found out from the kids that she spent the night crying in her room and didn't feed them dinner or tuck them in, so they made cereal and had a sleepover in the living room. Am I wrong for demanding a different bridesmaid at my friend's wedding? Really simple story. So I am a 26-year-old male, and my 2 best friends, Adam and Whitney, are getting married this fall. We have been tight since high school, with the 3 of us always running together. I was asked to be in the wedding party. Obviously, I'm ecstatic for my friends. But here is the issue. They paired me up with the one bridesmaid I'm not a fan of. This girl named Brooke, 27-year-old female. Me and Brooke met each other a few years ago. She was Whitney's volleyball teammate in college. She moved into our area and we started hanging out. She seemed like a great person at first. Funny, down to earth, and very athletic. Whitney is the one who set us up. I wasn't all that confident in the situation. Because our height difference was a little extreme for me. I'm 5 feet 8 inches and she's 6 foot. But I decided to at least go on the date. We had a very nice time. But that is when I learned what Brooke did. She was a cashier at a tanning salon. I'm looking for someone who has a legit career path. I'm in financial planning and have always wanted someone who makes similar to me. So at the end of the date, I told her that I didn't think it would work out between us. And we should probably just skip the movie we had planned. She asked why. I was polite and told her that I didn't see our paths aligning. Well, she kept badgering me and wanted to know what was the real reason. I told her that I just wanted someone who had a defined career path and made good money. I worded it very lightly. Over the next few weeks, Whitney hardly responded to me, as did a few of my other friends. I find out that Brooke told them a totally different version of the events. That I abandoned her on our date because she was poor. Which isn't at all what happened. She drove to the restaurant. We just didn't go to the movie afterwards. She told everyone I was shallow and completely reworded what I said. I was able to explain my side of things and show Whitney the texts. And we made up. But I haven't wanted anything to do with Brooke since. Now I'm paired up with her for the wedding. Which wouldn't be a big deal, besides the fact we have a lot of responsibilities together. We have to form a dance and some other stuff. I just don't want to do it with her. I asked Whitney to switch me to a different girl. And she refused, saying she wants it this way. I'm halfway convinced they are doing it to mess with me. Adam understands my position, but is telling me to just go along with it. I don't want to cause a thing here. But I'm nervous, they want to F with me because of the height difference or something. I'm thinking about asking to just be a guest and see if that changes things for Whitney. Because it's really my only leverage here. Am I the AH? Am I wrong for filing a report against my late husband's colleague and getting him fired? My husband, 33, passed away 3 weeks ago. He used to work for this company for 4 years. He'd known lots of people and made so many friends. For days, I kept getting texts from his colleague, Ted. I don't know him personally. I had no idea how he even got my number. When he first texted me, I texted, "Where did you get my number?" And he replied, saying he got it from my husband. At first, I felt annoyed, but then I started getting flirty texts from him. They started getting more and more inappropriate. I warned him to stop, but he sent me a deep pic one night at 3 a.m. and asked if I needed company since he knew I was lonely. I was appalled and enraged. I couldn't even sleep at night. I waited till the early morning to go to the company, straight to his boss, and filed a report against after explaining in details about his behavior. He ended up getting fired because the other colleagues said he did me and my husband wrong and disrespected his memory. He started arguing about how low what I did was coming to his work in hopes of ruining his livelihood. He kept saying it was between him and I, and his workplace had nothing to do with it, but I told him I've known only as my husband's colleague and he was his colleague. He and a friend of his said that I was aiming to get him fired and that he did nothing wrong and I could have talked it out with him instead. My mom called him a POS for doing this to my husband and me, but also said that he had a point in that I shouldn't come after his livelihood since the guy has a kid to provide for. I felt bad about the whole thing, and now I feel like I made things worse and acted out of emotions. Am I wrong for not wanting my husband's other child in my house? My husband cheated on me while I was pregnant and had a baby with another woman. I found out after the other child was born. I have never been okay with this. It's exactly the kind of trash I tried so hard to have not be part of my life. If it was possible, I would have divorced him by now, but I'm stuck at a legal dead end and it's not possible. We have a legal and emotional separation agreement though. Since he travels a lot, and between the baby, my parents, and my career, I've been able to avoid thinking too much about it. Well, so I thought. It's been almost 2 years since then, and now he wants to bring that child into my house. I guess he has some kind of schedule with the other child's mother that includes visits, and he wants that visitation to be in what is technically still his residence. Absolutely not. I'm not a stepmother to any child, and unlike in most of these situations, the house we're living in is truly only mine. It's under my parents' names, but I got it when I got POA and they had to go into a care home. I'm not having this kid in it. My husband and our family say that I need to deal with it because I am still married, that I need to accept my stepchild, and that I'm a witch for excluding a baby and preventing siblings from having a relationship. I don't agree. This child may technically be siblings to mine, but I don't need to play mom to this kid to make a relationship happen, and I don't want any of this trash coming into mine or my child's safe space. Am I crazy for not wanting this child here? Edit, why can't you get divorced? Why is he still living there? In my state, to file for divorce, both parties need to have been separated for over a year and living in separate residences, which requires one of us to move out. He doesn't want a divorce, so of course he won't move out. I can't make him because we're still married. In theory, I could move out and start the clock, but realistically I can't. With the POA, I can't just abandon the house. I couldn't afford to anyway, but if I did, he would be able to remain there. I would eventually get the house back, but in the meantime, he could easily destroy it and then I'd have legal problems from that. To clarify on the separation agreement, those don't technically exist in my state, but since we have it notarized, we could use it as an interim agreement on custody and the split on finances once that clock starts and especially post-filing. That's it for today's story time. Enjoy the rest of the video.